So welcome back for our final presentations today. I am Dr. Jana Holroyd-Leduc. I'm from the University of Calgary. I'm an academic geriatrician and professor at the university. And it's been really great today to hear about all the wonderful things that are happening here in New Brunswick. So it's my pleasure to introduce our last session. Our last session is Healthy Aging, Cognition and Dementia, and Diet and Nutrition. Aging doesn't just affect our physical abilities, it can also impact our cognitive abilities. Recent research has shown a relationship between frailty and cognitive impairment. This final block of presentations will highlight innovative work being done to foster cognitive well-being, improve dementia-related care, and support caregivers of Canadians living with dementia. This block will also speak to the important role that diet and nutrition play in healthy aging and preventing progression of frailty. We have 4 speakers this afternoon. First, it will be Chris McGibbon presenting the New Brunswick Brain Health Initiative, Preventing Alzheimer's by Lessening Modifiable Risks, or the NB-PAVA project. We have Shelley Duchette and Ellison Luke presenting Co-Designing Dementia Care, Building the Future Together. Pamela Dupro will be presenting on Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, or ACT, Telecounseling for Family Caregivers, Evaluating a New Program with Alzheimer's Society of New Brunswick. And our final presentation will be Isabelle Boulay, presenting on Exploring Innovative Programs for Family Members at the Alzheimer's Society of New Brunswick. So please welcome our presenters.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much. My name is Chris McGibbon. I'm a professor at UNB. I'm here to represent this large and amazing team that consists of folks from University of New Brunswick, University de Moncton, Horizon Health, Vitalite, and the New Brunswick Institute of Research, Data, and Training. So we have a relatively large project, and hopefully you had a chance to visit our booth, which is right down here at the end of the room. It's a relatively large project. It's only 10 minutes. There's not likely time to go through the everything that we're doing. So I'm going to try to give sort of a brief overview of the various activities that are happening in this project with a focus on preventing dementia. So we're basically just a quick rundown. This is a Healthy Seniors Pilot Project funded grant that we submitted in April 2019. I think that would have been the round 2 of the Healthy Seniors funding program. We were awarded the grant in January of 2020. And literally had our first team meeting in March, just about a week before COVID hit. So obviously that, like anyone that was doing research, human research at the time COVID hit, obviously that put a fairly significant wrench in the spokes. But we were able to pivot actually quite easily, and in many ways, we think that the pathway that we embarked on once COVID hit actually is a much stronger project. And essentially, what we're really after here is developing programs and interventions that can prevent dementia. So we're not looking at situations where an individual has dementia. We're looking at strategies for preventing dementia. And so really the overarching goal of this project is sort of to really build capacity in the province of New Brunswick for educating seniors, for identifying programs and strategies that can be rolled out, and as well as just getting a better understanding of the prevalence and incidence of of dementia in New Brunswick, and how can we actually monitor these things over time and know whether these programs are actually having impact. So those are really the sort of the three guiding principles of our grant. So to kind of put these into the objectives. So our first objective, and this is being led by Dr. Linda Yetman and Dr. Bryn Robinson at Horizon Health. And here, in collaboration with NB Seniors, identifying ways that we can engage with seniors in New Brunswick. So here we're focused on really learning from New Brunswick seniors. What do they want? What sort of programs would they be interested in? What are the strategies that may work? Things that maybe scientists like us don't think of. The second objective is actually a much larger objective, and I'll talk a little bit about it. This is in collaboration with the Canadian Consortium for Neurodegeneration and Aging, and is part of what's called the CAN Thumbs Up project. And I wish I could remember the acronym, but essentially it's a program aimed at preventing dementia. And so here we're really focused on, I don't know if there's a pointer. No, it doesn't seem to point. So essentially that element of the project is really looking at feasibility and pilot testing some brain health interventions here in New Brunswick that we've partnered up with CCNA. The CCNA is a pan-Canadian organization, if you haven't heard of them. And they cover a whole variety of areas in neurodegeneration, Alzheimer's, of course, being just one of those. The third objective is really in collaboration with the New Brunswick Institute of Research and Data and Training. And here we're kind of focused now on sort of the bigger picture and what does, what can we do here in New Brunswick in terms of understanding where are there communities in New Brunswick that are maybe more affected by Alzheimer's compared to others. There are risk factors, which I'll talk about for dementia, and there are certain regions of the province where those risk factors are higher. So just generally speaking, if we sort of consider the process of dementia, the final stage, which is what you would have a formal diagnosis of dementia. Obviously, the research in that area is primarily focused on care. There's a whole bunch of talks right after mine on dementia care. So really where we're focused is in the earlier part of the process. So there's the prodromal stage. This is where you may get a diagnosis of, from your doctor of a subjective cognitive impairment or a mild cognitive impairment. Does not necessarily mean that you will have dementia, but those are typically those early telltale signs that the individual may progress to dementia. So obviously this is would be an ideal place to intervene. We're taking that even a step further and going a little bit back prior to the mild cognitive impairment or subjective cognitive impairment. There are a number of risk factors for dementia, and we think of dementia sort of more broadly as not just Alzheimer's, but you'll hear me say Alzheimer's, and I'm kind of referring more generally to dementia. But there are a number of risk factors, and a lot of these risk factors are risk factors that arise in the earlier stages of life, when individuals are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And so really what we're trying to do is trying to essentially identify individuals by those risk factors and then route them into interventions and programs or whatever is needed to address those issues. So, this is you can take a picture of this. Chances are in 2 years it's going to change. The science is evolving on dementia and what the actual risk factors are. These are sort of the list of the top risk factors in terms of, 35% of dementias are essentially attributable to these 9 risk factors. So education, hypertension in midlife, obesity in midlife, hearing loss, late life depression, diabetes, physical inactivity, smoking, social isolation, and other more recent risk factors, slowing gait, poor nutrition, and inadequate sleep. So coming back to our objectives. Okay, thanks. So objective 1, as I mentioned, engaging older adults in brain health research. So and hopefully you'll get a chance to talk to our team over here at the booth, because again, as I said, I won't have time to mention everything, and I'm on a 2-minute notice right now. So the programs and interventions, this is where most of our activities are happening. And I want to point out kind of 3 approaches that we're looking at here. One is self-monitoring. So that first item there, the tool is Cognicity. You can Google this. It is a free platform available to anyone who wants to sign up for it. You get free online brain health assessments. These will come once a month. You can monitor your brain health for as long as you wish. You'll get a score that is, age corrected, so you kind of see where you are. So that's one really interesting tool. Right now, it is only offered in English. One of our projects, this aim is to validate the Cognicity tool in French, so that it can be offered bilingually. And so we hope, fingers crossed, that the bilingual version comes out in the fall. And so if you're interested in that, definitely keep an eye on that or go check it out. It's free. On the self-management side, here we're focused more on working with the Canadian Consortium for Neurodegeneration and Aging that have developed this brain health support program called BHSP Pro. And so one of the larger projects that we're involved in is pilot testing this program. And essentially, let me just, that's the Cognicity tool. For the brain health support program, essentially it's an online, it was originally supposed to be in person. All these projects were supposed to be in person, and they've all switched to online, but for the better. This has actually worked out better. And I think the impact of these projects will actually be huge compared to what it would have been had we been stuck with in person. So this is the Brain Health Pro interface. Obviously, I don't have time going into it. You can see it's a multi-domain intervention, tackling everything: cardiovascular, sleep, nutrition, basically a self management tool. The other part of this are interventions. This is when the individual needs a facilitated management. What are the programs? How are the ways that we can improve their outcomes and maybe slow down the progression of dementia? There's pretty good scientific evidence out there that exercise, physical activity, can reduce that progression. And even if we reduce it by 5 years, that makes a huge difference, because most of the individuals that are going to have dementia are in their 80s. Okay, so, reducing that onset by 5 years has a huge impact, not only just fiscally, but also in quality of life. The final one that I'll talk about, and in just a brief second, is, and this is the work that Dr. Sandra Bagalis is doing with NB-IRDT. And here we're trying to essentially paint a map of the province in terms of where the hot spots are. We're using, and Sandra can talk about it, I'm not a data expert, but essentially merging all these data sets to essentially give us a risk score for all the communities in New Brunswick. That way, these programs, when they roll out, we'll know where to go. We'll know where to focus. So that's it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shelley Doucette, and I'm based out of the University of New-Brunswick in St. John, where I'm a professor in nursing. And presenting with me today is Dr. Alison Luke, also based at the University of New-Brunswick in St. John. We are co-leading the project that we're presenting today, which is co-designing dementia care, building the future together. And also co-lead of this project is Dr. Pamela Jarrett, a geriatrician with Horizon Health Network. I also want to recognize our project coordinator, which is Amy Reed, who really keeps us on track and making sure we're achieving all of our project milestones. So for the presentation today, we're going to give you some information about dementia and the research project. Thanks. We'll also talk about the Forward with Dementia initiatives, and then also how you can get involved with this project. And then we'll end off with plans for next steps. So just to quickly begin, what is dementia? So it is a group of conditions that share a common set of symptoms, and these can include changes in memory, behavior, and judgment. As was mentioned in the last presentation, Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, but other examples include vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, and mixed dementia. Over 500,000 Canadians are currently living with dementia, and in New Brunswick, it's approximately 15,000. And while there is no cure, there are things that can be done to support people to live well with dementia. So we've done a fairly extensive research over the last few years in this area, and what we've learned is that when a diagnosis of dementia is made, people living with dementia and their care partners have shared that they are often not given a sense of hope about living well with dementia, and that they need more supports following a diagnosis. So these could be health and social care and just supports broadly. In addition, we've heard from healthcare providers that they also find it difficult at times to share a diagnosis of dementia, and also to stay current with all of the services and supports that are available to meet their clients' needs. So I'm now going to turn it over to Alison, who's going to share a little bit of information about how our research is addressing some of these gaps in practice.
Thank you, Shelley. So the current project that we're talking about is called Co-Designing Dementia Care, Building the Future Together. And this is part of a much larger international project that involves 5 countries. So there's Australia, they're kind of the home base, the main leading country, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Poland, and Canada. And within Canada, we've partnered, we've got folks across the province here, as well as folks from Quebec and Ontario. So this co-designing dementia care team, it's a really large project, and it's made up of 5 key phases, and each phase has been led by one of the countries. So it started out with a needs assessment phase. The needs assessment phase, which happened over a year ago now, was led by the Netherlands, and essentially was an opportunity for us to speak to all kinds of stakeholders. So this would be people living with dementia, as well as their care partners or caregivers, as well as members of the care team. So this could be healthcare providers or social care providers. And we really wanted to understand their experiences with receiving a diagnosis or giving a diagnosis, as well as everything that happens after that around post-diagnostic supports. Now, following that, and the second phase was led from through the United Kingdom, they had hired a company to help us to a marketing website development type company, because the grand vision was to try and develop a website and some tools to better support the diagnostic process, as well as enhancing post-diagnostic supports. But what's really key about this phase is that it was a co-design effort. So every country had really extensive, diverse, working teams, and every country we would meet with our team over a period of months. And this wasn't just sort of an advisory like, hey, here's the latest outline of what the website should look like. What do you think? These folks, and this was people living with dementia, care partners, members of the care team, they provided input on everything they liked and did not like around messaging, images, themes, everything down to fonts, colors, the whole general look and feel of what would be the following product. So after that, we actually did come up with a website and a campaign that came out of that co-design phase. And then we moved into phase 3, which was an implementation. So we have implemented this website as well as the campaign. And this consists of a variety of webinars, also discussions and talks we've done with the media. And we're now in the evaluation phase, and that's being led by the Canadian team. And then we're going to top it all off with a sustainability phase, which is led out of Poland. And I should point out that this sustainability phase which we will be carrying out in New Brunswick and across Canada. But we've even partnered with folks from the World Health Organization, as well as Alliance, the Dementia Alliance International, to really try and ensure that we can put together a toolbook or a playbook that other countries who are interested in implementing something similar can really learn from what we've learned, and they can do the same thing. So just very quickly, the Forward with Dementia, this whole initiative, it aims to provide suggestions on how to communicate a diagnosis, enhance the supports provided following a diagnosis, as well as providing hope that persons with dementia can live well. And I should point out that this was a key piece that came out of the co-design phase, where folks living with dementia said that one of the things they felt that was missing out of everything they'd experienced was this sense that there was a lack of hope. And it was important that that piece was built into this website campaign and tools. So very quickly, we welcome you to go and visit the website, but this would be what the Canadian landing page looks like. So every participating country would have their own landing page. And in Canada, it's bilingual. So there's a French landing page and an English landing page. So this would just give you a sense of what it looks like. At the top, you can see there's home. We have articles. So a lot of different articles around how to communicate a diagnosis, how to communicate your diagnosis with friends and family, activities you can do. We also have a selection of stories, and these are stories from real individuals who are sharing their experience about some aspect of either living with dementia or caring for someone with dementia. We also have newsletters and ways you can get involved. So just very quickly, this is what another page on our website would look like, and this would be some of the different stories that you could see if you visited our website. So just very quickly, how can you get involved? We would, well, visit us at our booth, visit the website, learn more about the website. We're also collecting people's feedback on the website. So we'd love to hear from you. There's a couple of different ways you can get involved, whether it's through an interview or a survey. And we'd also love you to join us at the Center for Research and Integrated Care at our booth, and we're happy to answer any questions. And I will now pass this back over to Shelley to end it off.
All right, so I'll just wrap off with some of the next steps that we also have planned. So in addition to some of the work that we're doing around sustaining the resources that we've developed, we're also using these resources to inform a newly funded project that we have through the Healthy Senior Pilot Project. It's a project that's going to allow us to implement patient navigators within 8 primary care clinics across New Brunswick to help support people with dementia, their care partners, and the care team navigate health and social services to really meet their needs, given that we found that this was really identified as a gap within our research. Again, it's not just the folks with dementia and their care partners, but also the care team. So this will be a project that we'll be implementing over the next 12 months. We're going to be implementing it within Horizon Health Network, Vitalité, and also within First Nations communities. Another aspect of this intervention as well is building peer-to-peer support groups for people with early onset dementia, later onset dementia, and also care partners as well. So we'll be taking the tools that we've been developing over the last few years. So some of the feedback we've been receiving around the co-design process, around, as we talked about, the coloring and the wording, and all of that will be integrated within our future projects as well. And those tools will also be tools that our patient navigators will use to support their clients. And of course, we'll be evaluating the program, and we'll be working with partners across the country to look at ways. We have a national advisory committee who will be working with us to look at how we can spread the innovations that we're working on here in New Brunswick to other regions across the country. So just to end off, our last slide is just some contact information. If you want to reach out to us, as Allison mentioned, we do have a booth in the back corner over there with the red banner waving. So I know it's close to the end of the day, but if anybody's interested in learning more about these projects, and we have many other projects as well we're involved in with this population and other populations. So, and if anybody's interested in learning more, please reach out to us. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Dr. Pam Durapo, and it's the second time I'm coming up on stage today. So thank you very much for your attention and thank you for being here today. I'm very excited to tell you about a new program that's being offered at the Alzheimer Society that was born and bred right here in New Brunswick by a very passionate Canadian certified counselor and psychotherapist named Nicole Cormier, who developed this program specifically for family caregivers of people who are living with dementia. So the project itself is called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy through Telecounseling for New Brunswick family caregivers. And we have quite a large team. Together with myself as a principal investigator is Executive Director at the Alzheimer Society, Chandra McGibbon, and our research coordinator is here, Isabelle Roulet. And again, I mentioned also Nicole Cormier, who is our psychotherapist. And we are engaging in this project with a number of researchers from other universities as well. We're also, of course, just as Shelley was up here discussing, so important for all of these projects to have input from people who are actually living with dementia and actual caregivers in the community. So we're very privileged to have a community advisory committee of 5 very diverse family caregivers that are sort of overseeing our project to make sure that we stay in line and that they agree with what we're doing and give us lots of suggestions. So we do have some funding from Mental Health Canada and from the New Brunswick Health Research Foundation. And of course, this program is already being offered at the Alzheimer Society of New Brunswick. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why people are seeking out acceptance and commitment therapy telecounseling here in New Brunswick. This program was launched back in January 2021, sort of at the height of our pandemic. Family caregivers are experiencing levels of depression, anxiety, grief and loss, and even many experience thoughts or feelings of self-harm or suicide. And you've heard lots of different reasons for why these sort of symptoms have been accentuated or attenuated because of the pandemic and social isolation. People that have attended the telecounseling program so far, the majority are spouses. We've had quite a few adult child caregivers, and then also other family members and friends. And just to clarify, I'm using the word caregiver, but not everyone identifies, of course, with that word. When I'm saying caregiver, I'm referring to someone who provides physical or emotional or financial support to someone who's living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't necessarily mean that you live together. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are the #1 person providing physical care, because there's all sorts of different care and it's all very rewarding, but it can also be very taxing. So what is acceptance and commitment therapy? So many of you have heard of course, cognitive behavior therapy. A few people have talked about it today. ACT is slightly different in that it focuses more on accepting emotions and situations that may be challenging that can't be changed. And for that reason, it's been shown to be really effective to improve the mental health of family caregivers of people with dementia, because as we've already discussed, it's often a progressive disease. There's no perfect cure for dementia. So family members and friends and the person themselves are often living with, challenging situations, and there's no solution. It's how do we live with this? How do we make the best of this? And so the goals of the therapy are really to help people to cope with their emotions, negative and positive, to help people identify what's really important to them in their life in terms of their values and how can they best live according to what those values are. Still acknowledging that they're in a very challenging situation that they haven't chosen. So this program that's being offered, it is based on evidence. There's lots of research out there that supports the fact that ACT or ACT improves mental health symptoms like depression, anxiety, stress, burden, social isolation even amongst family caregivers. And this program the thing that's really novel about it is that it's delivered through telecounseling, which means that people can access it either through text, telephone, or video conference, which is a huge bonus for family caregivers because they often are caring for someone that they can't leave alone. They may, especially in New Brunswick, live in a rural location where they're far from anyone who might be providing this kind of counseling, and it's being provided free at charge at the Alzheimer's Society. So it's pretty novel in all of those different ways. And we're so fortunate that Nicole Cormier, the psychotherapist, is also bilingual, so people can attend the program in their chosen language. So as I mentioned, acceptance and commitment therapy is a little bit different than cognitive behavior therapy. So it focuses on accepting emotions, whether they be negative or positive, accepting challenging situations. Diffusion refers to sort of looking at your thoughts, seeing, where that thought might be coming from, whether that's a true or accurate thought, thinking about what is really valuable to you in life. How can you live according to your values, even if you're in a challenging situation, and then taking actions to feel that you are still living a life that, brings you meaning. So in this project, we have this wonderful program that's already been launched in 2021. And so now we're embarking on a program evaluation to really show how this program does benefit family caregivers. This is a pilot and feasibility project to show the potential benefits of the project and to show that it works, or that it can run, meaning that people can successfully access the program, that we can recruit the number of people to the program that we would like to. So we are completing a randomized control trial, meaning that people who decide to join this study will either be put into the ACT program or they'll receive usual care from the Alzheimer's Society. And then after a period of time, we will do questionnaires at the beginning and the end to see how people's mental health symptoms change and hopefully improve. So the ACT program, it involves 6 to 8 telecounseling sessions. They're each 1 hour long. As I mentioned, family caregivers can attend however they choose, whether through text, teleconference, meaning by telephone, or through video conference at no charge to them. The ACT program, usually people will they choose to attend once every 3 weeks. So it'll be a minimum of about 18 weeks to complete the program. People who are receiving the usual care program, because we don't want to have them wait too long to attend the ACT program, they're just going to receive usual care for 14 to 16 weeks before they have the opportunity to join the other active telecounseling program if they wish. So the whole point of the program, or this project evaluation, is really to show that this project does have positive effects for family caregivers, that it is something that is practical and feasible to deliver. And we're hoping to generate this evidence so that the program can be sustained, that we can apply for long-term funding for this program, and that it can be expanded. There's a lot of interest throughout Atlantic Canada, particularly to start implementing this program, but we need some hard evidence to sort of prove the value of the program. So some of the things that we'll be looking at specifically are to see how people's levels of depression, anxiety, stress, caregiver burden, participation in activities, and their feelings about acceptance and their actions change over time. So I'm sorry, I feel like we're all, attacking you all to join our research studies, but I'm required to tell you that we are recruiting for the telecounseling project evaluation right now. We have flyers at the Alzheimer's Society booth. If you do participate, we have a couple of incentives for you. However, the ACT telecounseling program is available to anyone, whether you want to participate in the research study or not. So, it's freely available right now. So please, contact or share the information with anyone you think might be interested. And here's our contact information of our research coordinator and myself and Chandra. And thank you very much.
All right, last presentation. Let's go. All right, so my name is Isabel Boule, and I am the research assistant and coordinator at the Alzheimer Society of New Brunswick. And today I'll be presenting a project that we have completed end of March this year, where we introduced dementia care training to family and friend caregivers of people with living with dementia. Oh, right, I do this. All right, so before I get started in our interesting research project, I wanted to acknowledge our team members, especially Chandra that is at our booth today, and many more. We also were super lucky to have patient advisors. These are caregivers. They have firsthand experience to being a caregiver of a person living with dementia. So they provided us guidance and feedback throughout the project on how to make this research project a good experience for participants that will also be caregivers of people living with dementia. And also, I acknowledge our funders, the Government of New Brunswick and the Public Health Agency of Canada through the Healthy Senior Pilot Project. Thank you so much. So to give you a little bit of background, at the Alzheimer Society of New Brunswick, one thing that we hear a lot from our clients is that one of the things that is the most difficult, that the largest issue that they face is that they lack education on how to address behaviors associated with dementia. When I say behaviors associated with dementia, we've heard a lot about that previously, but it could be agitation, hallucination, wandering, all kinds of behaviors like that. So they just want tools on how to address those behaviors. And we have heard that there was an education program called Gentle Persuasive Approach, or for short GPA, that has been shown to be effective to meet the needs of formal caregivers of people living with dementia. When I say formal caregivers of, I mean healthcare professionals or even students in the health domain. They did research with this training to see if that was effective to help them address behaviors associated with dementia. And it was very successful. So the GPA program was recently adapted to be offered online, and also offered for the first time to family and friend caregivers of people living with dementia. So in this project, we decided let's offer this new training and see what is the impact of this training on dementia care and the caregivers. Is this suitable for a family and friend caregivers of people living with dementia? Should this be expanded outside of this province and continue to be offered? So the new adapted GPA training for family and friend caregivers is called GPA Community. And what is the GPA Community? It's online, and the goal is to teach caregivers how to respond with respect and confidence and skill to behaviors associated with dementia. And it was delivered in two parts that I'll be explaining in the next slide. So part one of the training, we called it the GPA e-learning. It's more independent learning. Learners had 4 weeks to complete this training, that the part one of the training, which takes about 2 to 3 hours to complete. So they were able to learn at their own pace and in the comfort of their home. So that would be more easier if you're taking care of a person living with dementia. So it was delivered through short video tutorials, whiteboard animation, including tile matching exercise that reviewed 4 modules that I'll be explaining in the next slide. So module 1 was an introduction to personhood. So this is a concept that explains while dementia can affect or have a change on a person's personality, behavior, and thinking, this person is still a unique human being with values and beliefs that must be considered and accommodated while providing care. Module 2 was about brain and behavior. So it was describing how the disease can have an impact on the brain and those changes, how those changes in the brain can affect the behavior of the person living with dementia. So that was more the why behind the behavior. Module 3 was the title is interpersonal environment. So that teaches more communication and relationship strategies that help soften or prevent dementia-related behaviors. And of course, gentle persuasive techniques, like the title of the training. So those were physical self-protection techniques that are safe and effective to use with people living with dementia. So more practical tips on what to do and how to address behaviors. And part 2 of the training, we called it the virtual interactive session. So of course, a group session with individuals that learned part 1 alone, met together to have the opportunity to ask questions about what they've learned and also practice what they learn in the GPA e-learning. So, of course, they did group activities, they did case studies, discussion, and role play demonstration, especially with module for the self-protection techniques. And we have results. So 33 caregivers completed the GPA community training, and using surveys and group interviews, we have learned that since the training, participants had more confidence in responding to behaviors related to dementia. So a quote from our participants that is illustrating this finding is that this helped me deal with her in a safe and positive way, as well as confidence for me to know, to understand what's happening, when that's happening, and what to do, what actions to take. Also, they had a better understanding of the perspective of the person living with dementia. So a participant said, it was very powerful and really kind of made me understand what he must be going through. As well, they developed more empathy and compassion for the person living with dementia. So one participant said, it made me think more compassionately about my partner, my husband. Those are hard quotes sometimes to say out loud, very deep. They also had a better understanding of the behaviors that they see on a day-to-day basis. So another participant said, and I understand now, more importantly, that that's what I am seeing on a day-to-day basis. So we were using a lot of the words that the participants were saying to help us understand what impacts was with the training. So we also wanted to know the satisfaction of our participants with the training. So we learned that on average, participants reported a moderate to high levels of satisfaction with the training, which we were pretty happy with. They expressed that the delivery methods were super engaging. They also really appreciated meeting other caregivers of people living with dementia to relate to certain things they were experiencing and sharing experiences. And the majority of our participants would suggest this online course to other caregivers of people living with dementia. And for people who like statistics or numbers, this is a representation of certain statistics and how participants have rated a few elements of the GPA training, such as the practical application content, learning activities, video clips, and the overall course. So 5.89 out of 7 stars. And of course, very important to know, how can we improve the GPA community training? So participants have shared that they would love to have more group activities. They would like to have more specific examples that about behaviors in the home environment, such as incontinence, dementia, and driving, or maybe when someone's reluctant to go to a medical appointment, what to do. More practical techniques that can be immediately used at home. And also they shared that they would like to have less content for healthcare professionals, less theoretical content, so more practical, removing charts and whatnot. And also they would love to see an added section on recognizing emotions that caregivers can experience while caring for a person living with dementia, and also coping strategies on how to address that. So I'm seeing 2 minutes. I'm almost done. I am actually done. So I hope that we can stay connected. Those are my contact information, and the Alzheimer's Society of New Brunswick is in all of those social media. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So we have a booth too, so come talk to me if you want. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So maybe we can give a round of applause for all our fabulous speakers today. So and I also want to thank everybody for attending. I forgot to mention when I introduced myself that I've been involved with the Canadian Frailty Network pretty much from its inception. I've been a member of the Research Management Committee, and have had the great pleasure to work with the board of the Canadian Frailty Network. And so now I'd like to introduce the board chair, Russell Williams, to come up and give some final comments. And Russell, remember, you're standing between them and libations.
Thanks so much, Jane. Yeah, they gave me 20 minutes to speak. Don't worry, I won't. But I am so inspired from today's presentations. I'm really excited and inspired by the people, the projects, the ideas, and the caring. It's really exciting, and I have a lot of energy from this. And so I really wanted to first and foremost thank all of you for participating. Un grand merci à vous tous. C'est fantastique que nous avons aussi nombre de personnes qui ont participé toute la journée aujourd'hui. We're all going to learn a lot from that. So special thanks to you, the speakers, and all the exhibits that hopefully everybody's going to go back and see. It's been a great day for learning, and I really hope that we can take things and scale them up and spread these innovations throughout New Brunswick for sure, but throughout the country. And as we saw with the demographics, is we really have to get a proactive approach to make sure that we maximize optimum health and independence, as if we are going to be able to deal with the aging populations in Canada. So the Canadian government, all of Canada, has to focus more and increase our investment in healthy aging, including social, health, and technological innovations. That's going to be key to improving our lives as we go forward. So I think this has been a great day. The Canadian Frailty Network will take the learnings from that and talk to others and help spread the word. And as I said, I'm very, very inspired. Couple of other thank yous that I want to just to highlight on is maybe just also highlight that it's just been a great partnership with the Canadian Frailty Network and New Brunswick, the foundations and everybody here. We've really appreciated the hospitality and the working and the vision that you all brought. Also like to thank the hotel and Julia McDevitt. Julia, are you here? There you are. I took my glasses off so I couldn't see. So thank you for making everything work so well. Maybe a round of applause for you for that. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts later on when we go and have a reception over in the other corner. So thank you. And aussi un grand merci pour le système de traduction qui est en arrière. Thank you very much for being here for all of us all day. Now, I think we have a couple door prizes that we would like to draw, and then we'll bring the day to an end. But again, congrats for a great day. I think we've all learned. We're going to advance some learnings together. And if Carol would come up. Dun, 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 dun.